Testing. So to me, at least, it's completely worth it. But I've been an entrepreneur for years. I've run a couple businesses, and I know, pretty much what I need to do, which is stay consistent and stay dedicated. So I have not left the road. I was about to say this truck. I just got my truck barely 2 weeks ago. But I've been in training since January, and it went very long, but that's okay. All things happen for a reason. Um, but I made both of my trainers the most money they ever made. Actually, my second trainer, I believe, since, he was new to training, it was the most that he'd ever made, I guess, period, because, you get paid like a team driver. But, like, I run hard. The reason I'm doing this video is because I want everybody to know that when you're leasing, and just in general with Prime, and this goes with any place that you're with, speak up and be proactive. Let me get in the light here. Speak up, be proactive. I had to accept a load here going to Texas that I didn't really want, but I was promised something better. And so now that it's the weekend and the person who made that promise is not in, I also had to speak to my weekend dispatch. Please don't be afraid to speak up. It doesn't have to be hostile. You don't need to be hostile. Just, have an adult conversation. Tell them, what your needs are. You can even tell them what your goals are if it's appropriate, if the conversation is appropriate. I was going back and forth on the messaging with the weekend dispatch, and then I called, and finally he picked up, because they can see who's calling. He finally picked up, and then I realized, I was like, hey, this is the guy who taught my the business part of the upgrade, the business class. What was that class called? I forgot, but it definitely was about, running your business as a lease owner operator. And he was amazing. The things that he taught. Now, I do a lot of research. I've already done a lot of my research at this point. And I knew that when I got my own truck that I was going to be driving about 55 miles per hour to make sure that I, save money on fuel if I'm not rushing to meet a deadline. 9 times out of 10, you have enough time to get to your load. So, that was one of the first things he talked about. And he said that he used to train. He said his students hated him for making them drive 55 miles an hour. But he said that 90% of his students have their own fleet now. And they, implement a lot of the things that they were taught during training. And he was such a great teacher. I appreciate it. The whole class was trying to get his telephone number. That's how good of a teacher he was. So he's here for weekend dispatch, and I spoke to him. Now, at first, in the messaging, he probably just thought I was just anybody. But I reminded him that I was in his class, and I told him, that I've made my trainers the most money they've ever made. I told him I'm here to run. And so he's working to get me something, better. But that's, if he can. If not, he made other promises. And, hey, I'm going with that because that's what I believe. And you get what you believe. So that's another thing. I'm not going to get on here into the metaphysical with you guys because I know y'all not, some of y'all not into that. But that's what this whole page is about. But anyway, I hope this helps. I just really want you to understand what I mean when I said communicate. Communication is huge, just like it is in relationships. You want to communicate with your dispatchers. But yeah, your question was about tolls and all that. So the things that I put in those comments, I pretty much allotted for everything. That was on my first two checks as an owner operator. I have several friends who've been doing it for years. One lady who used to work for Prime and then she came back years later. I have another friend who is a trainer and she's been doing this for years. And then, my previous trainer taught me a lot, who has been leasing with Prime. My first trainer, she leases with Prime. And so I observed everything since January. So, no, that's not a whole lot of time, but it's enough time as someone with a business mind, an entrepreneurial mindset, to kind of understand the ins and outs of what's going on. So I hope it helps. And I'm wishing you the best.